All right, are y'all ready to get started? Okay, so I have a little bit of a quote, an inspirational quote for us to start, okay? And I think this is super, super relevant to what we're talking about today, because our goal is, and here's the thing, I actually heard something the other day that said, it's better to do a little than nothing at all. So I think sometimes, you know, you wake up and the day's just starting. You're like, I got this today. Like I'm going to accomplish this and this and this and this and this and this. And then the day goes by and you accomplish this. And then you go on a little bit more and you accomplish this. And then you feel less. You feel small then because you feel like you didn't accomplish all of the things. When in reality, guess what? You accomplished more than if you had done nothing. So our goal every day, and that includes pitching brands and what we're going to talk about today, the goal every day is to do more, just a little thing, just more today than we did yesterday. Okay, so we're going to talk about the difference between motion and action. So motion's like this and action is like this. So motion is you talk to a personal trainer, you research your book idea, you explore different types of meditation. Action is you do 10 squats, write 1 sentence, meditate for 1 minute. Motion feels like progress because you're talking about it and you're thinking about it and you're telling people about it. Action is progress. And so our goal from today, I'm going to give you, we're going to walk through the whole branding process, the whole pitching process, and I'm going to give you actionable steps. And your goal at the end of this webinar is, I want you to be thinking through the webinar, what is 1 action step that I can take away from today that I could go and do to increase my business? Okay, so I wanted to start with why. Why do we even pitch? Now, I do a lot of consulting for brands. I have an amazing group. If you're on here from my group, like I have the sweetest, kindest, most encouraging group ever that I coach all of them. And we go over there every day and we learn all about blogs and growing our businesses and everything. And I tell people in the group and when I do private coaching, okay, I need you to pitch a brand. And people give me all kinds of flack. So I put together a list of things that I have heard people say to me, why they don't pitch. Number 1, they are waiting for people to come to them. No, that's not what we're about. I mean, it's great if people come to you, but it's like my mother always said when I was in high school and I didn't get invited to a party. My mom always said, invite people to your own party. Have your own party. So if you're right now sitting at your house and you're like, oh, you see your friends, you see other people having these amazing brand collaborations. And sometimes people say that to me. And I'm like, well, did you ask? And they're like, well, no, I mean, I didn't ask. And I'm like, okay, you're never going to get any brand collaborations sitting around waiting for brands to come to you. So many times people say, I'm waiting for brands to come to me. Something else that people say is that it's too scary, which I get it 100%. It's very scary because we're all afraid of rejection. We're all afraid of we're going to ask something and somebody is going to tell us no. And you know what? You are going to hear some no. So let's be completely transparent. When you pitch a brand, you're putting yourself out there and you are going to hear no's. But you know what? We don't care because for every no, every couple of no's, there's going to be a yes. And the no's fade into oblivion. You don't listen to them and it's their loss. If you pitch them with your wonderful brand and your wonderful idea and your wonderful product and they do not work with you, that's their loss. That's not about you. That no is not about you. It's about that brand and it is their loss that they did not have the opportunity to work with you. The second thing is that people say they're going to do it. Like, I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that. I promise. But they just haven't got around to it yet. No, we're not going to put it off any longer because there's an amazing thing about to happen in our world. It's called Q4, which is the end of the year, which is October, November, and December. And if you're a home decor blogger or a DIY blogger or a food blogger or a fashion blogger, or I don't know what other niches might be on here, but This is our golden hour. This is our opportunity to make money. And so you still have a whole month. We haven't even hit September yet. So you still have a whole month to put the action steps that we're going to talk about today, to put them into place. Also, people say all the time, they're not big enough. Okay, I'm sorry. I was pitching brands when I had me and my mom and a random lady from Walmart, okay, reading the blog. Like, I pitched from the very beginning. Once I decided I was going to make this into a business, and I pitched, because, and why it worked was, I'll tell you in just a little bit why it worked. But the main reason is that you have, hi, yes, random people at Walmart for sure following my blog. But yes, the thing is, if you have loyal followers, those are worth something. And we're going to talk about that in just a second. Also, people say they don't know how. Well, if you're on this webinar, you cannot use that excuse, because I'm about to walk you through step by step on how to do it. And also, people are so worried that they're going to say no. And you know what? Just like we said, sometimes they will say no. They might say no. But again, we don't care. We don't care if they say no, because every no is another opportunity to pitch someone else. It's another opportunity to work with someone else. It's another opportunity to get back out there and pitch ourselves to another brand. So those are the reasons why people give me all the time that they can't pitch or they haven't pitched. Everyone's always about to pitch. Like, when I bring it up to someone, they're always like, I'm about to do that. Yeah, I'm about to do it. Okay, we're not about to do anything. We are going to do it. Remember, motion versus action. Today, we are all about action. Okay, so, and here's the next step is, I want you to know your value. Now, come a little closer to the screen. Check out my amazing lipstick. And I want you to hear when I say this, because I'm speaking to you. Yes, you sitting there with a coffee cup, with like the half-eaten blueberry muffin, with the toast, with the bagel, whatever you are eating, whatever you are drinking, whatever you are doing, wherever you are listening to me, I want you to hear me. And I want you to hear me good. As my mom used to say, you have value. So many things have changed right now in our world. So much of life in general has moved online. Everything shopping is moving online. The way people are doing business is changing. That's moving online. Life is, because of all of our current situations and so many things going on in the world today, life is moving online. Well, guess where you are? You're online, and you have a platform, and you have readers, and those readers are valuable, and your voice and what you think about products is so important to your readers. I always tell people this: if you gave me 1,000 loyal readers, 1,000, I could rule the world. Because what you're doing when you're working with these brands is you are aiming an arrow at the heart of their target market. So let's say you're a brand and you have a certain amount of marketing dollars. And one time I actually got asked to go with a brand to New York City to go behind the scenes to film a commercial. And hi, Melanie. And when I figured out what they were paying for that commercial, I was like, oh my gosh. So they had to pay so much for the commercial. Then they had to buy the airtime in addition to that on television. Now, when you're advertising, let's say on television or radio, or let's even say you take out a billboard, or just different places that you would put your marketing dollars. Guess what you're reaching? You're reaching a whole bunch of people with a whole bunch of different ideas and a whole bunch of different interests. You're reaching many, many different people. When you advertise on a blog, or when you work with a blog, you are aiming an arrow at the heart of their target market. People are coming to your blog because they are all about DIY, because they are all about decor, because they are all about design. Now, they're not there because they want to know how to like curl your hair. They're there because they are interested in what that brand has to offer. So you are literally, it's the best money spent in the world, because when you take an arrow and you aim it at the heart of that target market, guess what your chances for success are? So much improved. And to advertise on a blog is so much cheaper than if you were to take out a television ad or a billboard or radio. And we undervalue that. It's like we feel like sometimes we have nothing to bring to the table. We feel like we don't have worth. And if you hear nothing else from today, if you have to leave and go do an errand or run an errand and you don't hear anything else and you take nothing else away from this call, I want you to understand the worth that you have. Because when I talk to people, when I talk to blogs, they're always like, I'm not good enough. I need to grow. I need to get bigger. And it's like they're shrinking in front of me. No, we are not shrinking. We are amazing. I want you to stand tall. I want you to listen to me, what I am saying, and I want you to understand how amazing you are. So I want you to type it right now. I want you to type it. I want to hear it from you. Sometimes when I'm on a call with people, I actually make them say it out loud. Like I'll make them say, I'm amazing. So I want you to say, I'm amazing. Type it. Come on, let's go. Let's go. I want to hear you say, I'm amazing. I'm waiting. That's right, Stacy, you are amazing. Paula, you are amazing. Yes, you are amazing. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. And you can say it out loud right now. Say it with me. Say, I am amazing. I am amazing. I want to hear you. I wish I could hear you all the way in Texas. I am amazing. And I got this. You have learned step one of how to pitch a brand. So here's the thing. Before you do anything that I say on this call, on this webinar, before you pitch a brand, before you write anything, I want you to go to the mirror. Before you do this, I know this is going to sound silly. I know you're rolling your eyes right now. Whatever, KariAnne. Get to the point. Get to the pitch. How do we do it? But what y'all are missing is this is where the pitch starts. The pitch starts with belief in yourself. The pitch starts with understanding how amazing you are. So before you write that pitch letter, before you send that to that brand, I want you to go to the mirror and I want you to look yourself in the mirror and I want you to say, I am amazing. Because if you don't believe in yourself and you don't believe that you bring something to the table with this brand, then why would the brand believe in you? And when you speak that truth, when you say that out loud to yourself, it comes through in your writing and it comes through in your pitch. So step one, before we do anything else, we are going to decide that we are amazing. And that is the basic foundation for the success of all pitching. Okay, number two, we want to talk through what brands to pitch. So now here you are, you got your mirror. You got your coffee and you're saying, where do I start? Where do I find the brands to pitch? Okay. So part of your goal from this webinar is to come up with 5 companies. I want everyone to make a list. Maybe you already have a list. If you do, then you're already ahead of the game. But I want you to come up with a list of 5 companies. So when I left Haven, many of you have heard my story. I wrote a blog for 6 months, which was full of absolute foolishness. I put my toes on there and I talked about how you can pick things up with your toes, which people should not write. Don't write a post about how you can pick things up with your toes. It's since been deleted, but yes, I did write a post like that and all other sorts of amazing things. And then I went to Haven, and in Haven I discovered that there were bloggers there, and those bloggers were making money. And I'm like, whoa, back up. You can make money from a blog. So I went back home and I put on my marketing hat because that's what I majored in college is marketing. And I decided, okay, I'm going to turn this into a business. So one of the first things I did was I decided I'm treating this like a business. I'm going to set office hours for myself. And the secret, you've heard me say this many, many times. If you treat your blog like a business, guess what it turns into? A business. If you treat your blog like a hobby, guess what it turns into? A hobby. So we want to treat our blog like it's a business. So the very first thing I did was I came up with a list of 5 companies that I wanted to target. And where did I get those companies from? Okay, number 1, I looked through products that I already used organically on the blog. So my blog's a weird mixture of sometimes I'm DIYing, actually I was just outside, if you can believe, in these earrings and this whole getup. I was out sanding a table for tomorrow's post. I was distressing a table with a sander. And this lipstick and these, I think my neighbors, I'm the talk of the neighborhood. And So sometimes I do DIY, sometimes I do design, sometimes I do different things like that. And so I looked through all of those, like just recent things I had done in my house. Oh, Melanie, you're so sweet. But I looked through extra like posts I had done and figured out companies that I was already using their products. So it was an organic fit for the blog because I'm already organically using them. So I made the list of the 5 companies. Now here's the thing, and this is super important. So hear me when I say this. Just because I made that list of 5, one of the companies that I chose does not work with bloggers. Now, I didn't know at the time, I wasn't smart enough to know, hey, maybe I should research and see if companies actually work with bloggers before I add them to my target list. So learn from my mistakes, because one of the companies I chose was Hobby Lobby. And oh my word, I wanted to work with Hobby Lobby so much. And I tried to date Hobby Lobby like the football player that you want to ask you to the homecoming dance. And I like hung out by their locker, and I did everything that I'm going to tell you to do. And it was nothing, like nothing. All those hours trying to pursue Hobby Lobby to work with me, which, by the way, if Hobby Lobby, if you're on here or you can hear me, I would still love to work with you after all these years. But I wasted all of that time because I didn't do a little bit of research first and figure out if that brand, my 5 targets, one of those brands actually worked with bloggers. I didn't know enough to do that. So learn from my mistakes. So number 1, you want to make the list of brands. Number 2, we want to make sure that those brands are actually working with bloggers. And how do you do that? Number 1, you do a little bit of research in the marketplace. So I follow 500 blogs. I follow them on my phone. I follow them through an app called Blog Lovin'. And I just always have my ear to the ground in the market, especially with this earring. I have my ear to the ground in the marketplace to try and determine who is working with brands. And I have a little list of brands that work with bloggers. So not only when you're putting your list together, you want to make sure, number 1, that you're using them organically. Number 2, you want to make sure that the brand actually works with bloggers. Now, also, here's another tip and something else that you can do for your list. If you've been blogging for a while and you haven't pitched brands at all, you can always go back to this time last year and just see what products you were using organically, or if you did partner with a brand before, but you just maybe you didn't get paid for it, maybe you did product, you could also add that brand to the list. So maybe I always go back when I'm pitching now, and especially when you get in the pitching routine, you should always remember to go back and just do like I already know who I worked with in Q4 last year, and they have already been pitched. So once you get into the pitching cycle, a really good idea when you're looking for brands to work for is just look at who did you work with last year, because some brands are very cyclical. And if you worked with them last year, why not reach out and re-pitch them again? But make sure you give enough time. In other words, you don't want to wait till the end of Q4 and go, oh, I worked with them in Q4, let me pitch them. Do a little bit of due diligence and research in Q3 what's happening before you pitch Q4, research in Q2 before you pitch Q3, if that makes sense. That is a question I had, already pitching. Do any of them do ongoing? No. Okay, so that's a great question, Melanie. Actually, your goal always as a blogger is to get what I consider like a long-term contract with them. So I'm right now an ambassador for 7 different brands, Hometalk being one of them, which of course Hometalk is my very favorite of all of them. And that's achieved through repitching and repitching. Now, a lot of times you don't really want to try to get more than a one-off. By one-off, I mean you pitch them once and you walk away, because you're working so hard to pitch a brand. So I'm going to teach you a little tip on how to rebook them so it's not just a one-off. So I love the ongoing. Anytime you can get a year contract, or you can even get 6 months, or you can get 4 or 5 posts, it just saves you having to go out and repitch again. Also, too, you also want to look at what projects you have coming up. So a lot of times when you're putting that list of 5 brands together, maybe you're looking for a sink company because you're about to do a renovation. Maybe you're looking for a flooring company because you are about to redo a room. You always want to look and see what you have coming up, because then it's a true organic fit. Okay, so now we have our list of 5 companies, because we don't want to just randomly here and there pitch. We want to make sure that we have a targeted list of 5 people to pitch. Okay, now the next question is, you're going to ask me, where do you find the contacts for brands? Like, that's hello, 101. You're like, okay, KariAnne, I got my list. You probably wrote your list down while we were on the phone together. I mean, while we're on this webinar, you're like, I'm an overachiever. I already have my list. Fine. Melanie, I'm sure, because she's super, super organized and talented. So, and Elaine, I mean, and Sarah, for sure, probably, y'all probably all have your list of 5, but, so next thing that we want to, bingo, I knew it, see, Sarah is so amazing and squared away. I knew that you would have that. Okay, so here are a couple places where you can find the list. I mean, the contacts. So number 1, there's a website, which maybe some of y'all know or not. It's called hunter.io. And it has, what hunter.io is it puts together emails from companies. So what you would do is you go over to, it's a website, hunter.io. And you put in any company. You can put in Hobby Lobby, you can put in Michael's, you can put in, and it will pull up all of the emails that it can find from around the web or email contacts. And then you go through those contacts and you look with, sorry, I got distracted by a question. And you look and see the marketing department. You're looking for marketing, you're looking for brands, you're looking for advertising, anything in that department. And that's a great way to get the email of the contact. Now, Michelle will address that in just a second. She asked, do brands work with people who have a small following? And yes, they do 100%, but we're going to address that in just a second. That's an excellent, excellent question. Okay, so hunter.io is a great place to find a contact. A second place to find contacts is through networking. So a lot of you are probably in Facebook groups, a lot of you are probably in blogging groups, and you can ask in there. Sometimes somebody will give you the contact. If you have friends that are in the business, a lot of times your blogging friends might have a contact. If you see someone working with a brand, you know, and sometimes the blogger is not allowed to give you the contract because they're under contractual obligation, but what they could do is maybe reach out to the brand for you. I've had many friends do this for me, and they'll reach out and say, hey, you know, I have a great friend. She's interested in working with you. Can I give her your contact information? So that's kind of a workaround if you're under contractual obligation. Another place too is I don't know about y'all, but I have an entire email folder in my email of rando emails that I get. So all the time I'll get, and it's a lot of times it's the PR company and they want to give you like a free pumpkin. Okay, they want you to do 27 blog posts and 2 Instagram shout outs and 40 pins for this pumpkin, right? This pumpkin right here. And we say no to that because we remember our value. We have worth and we have value. We're more than a pumpkin, more worth more than a pumpkin. But what we want to do is sometimes we can take, oh, can I talk about how to actually get paid? That's one of the questions at the end. So we will definitely address that then, Lauren, for sure. But a lot of times we want to take that email and we want to get that email and you are worth more than a pumpkin, Jessica, for sure. We want to take that email and a lot of times we put it in, what I do is I don't reach right back out to them because then a lot of times I get a no, but I put that little email in a file and I wait maybe 3 or 4 weeks. And then when I write a very specific pitch, I reach back out to them and ask for their person. And this is a buzzword in the industry. It's called the person who handles blogger relations. So a lot of times you're getting that email from a PR contact. Now, the PR contact might know the person at the company who handles blogger relations. So I actually pitch the person. I wait a little bit so it looks a little bit more organic. But it's a great place to start. So let's say, for example, you get a random email from a spray paint company and they are, you know, they're sending you an email and they say, we just want, here's some high-res images. We want you to shout out our spray paint, or we'll send you a copy of a spray paint. I mean, we'll send you a product. We'll send you free products, free spray paint for $3.47. We want 4 blog posts, you know. No, we are not we're worth way more than that. But you have an intro into that company. And a lot of people just dismiss that. They'll say, oh, that's the PR company. I have had relatively good return when I turn around and pitch that contact. And I'll say to them, I'm not sure if you're the person who handles blogger relations, or maybe there's another person who handles blogger relations, but I have an incredible project coming up that I think your brand would be a good fit before. And that gets sometimes that can get you a very good high rate of return. So I would not dismiss those random emails that come into your inbox. Also, too, Instagram is a great place to reach out to them. Now, again, the person that's on Instagram is not necessarily the person that handles blogger relations. Usually, especially if it's a big brand, they have a whole section over here that's just for Instagram, and there's like an Instagram team. And then there's a whole section over here of people that work with blogs and bloggers. So you want to make sure that you aren't trying to pitch these people. Your goal is to really reach out to them. Now, here's a tip for you. Before you reach out to a brand on Instagram or Facebook, make sure that you are following them. Because I think sometimes we think of brands as like these giant, like abstract companies, but brands have feelings. They really do. And if you reach out to them, they get their feelings hurt. If they go over there and you're asking them for their contact and you're not even following them on Instagram, oh, no, that's not good. That's not good. So, and even maybe hit them up a little bit, like maybe like a few of their posts, like, try to have a little bit of an organic relationship with them. Yes. Okay, Jessica, we're going to bring that up. Yeah, these are all great questions that and I promise you I'll address them at the end. If I forget to address them, then y'all just re-ask them for me so I see them in the feed, okay? But make sure that you are dating that brand over there before you really reach out and ask them for an ask, because you have so much more of a chance of success if they've actually seen you liking their photos and to make sure that you follow them. You can do the same thing on Facebook too. You can reach out to them on Facebook. I have better luck on Instagram, but Facebook is another great thing too. So, and if you're actually doing something organic in your post with one of those brands, make sure you tag them. You can get on their radar. And that way, it's just a great way to get noticed by the brands. So just to repeat, where do you find contacts for brands? Hunter.io, Instagram, networking, and Facebook. Okay, now here's 5 things that you need in your pitch. And this is super important. So you actually get the contact. So now you've figured out the company you want to work with, you've actually gotten the contact, and now you're going to write your pitch. And this is where it breaks down for most people, because I've seen the lamest of lame pitches that come to me. And in the pitch, what they do is they're all about themselves. They're like, oh, hi, my name is KariAnne from Thistlewood Farms, and I'm generally amazing. Like, I have 500,000 page views every month, and like, I've worked with so many brands, and like, I'd love to speak with you about working with you, but I'm really great. Like, I'm so great. Like, you wouldn't even believe how great I am. Okay, no. You know where that's gonna end you? Like a roadblock. The first thing that you need to do before you even think about pitching a brand is you need to go over and do a little bit of research. Go check out that brand's page, because inevitably the brand will have some sort of product. You know how Oreos, now they have like birthday cake Oreo, or M&Ms. Oh, they're famous for it, which, I shouldn't bring up M&Ms right now, making me hungry. Okay, so they have they got the brand new caramel M&Ms, and they've got this M&M crisp M&Ms, and like peanut flavored M&M. I mean, all these different M&Ms. They always have a new M&M coming out. Well, most brands are like that. Maybe not as prolific as M&Ms are, but a brand will have, let's say it's Home Depot. They come out with a brand new tile. They're trying to promote this brand new product. One of the companies I work for is a company called Jeffrey Court, and they always have new tile designs coming out. You want to make sure before you go in and start pitching, before you start talking to anyone at all, you want to make sure you're knowledgeable about the brand. Because the biggest thing, in my private group, I had a conversation with a brand in there, and she actually said to me that people get on there and they don't know about her brand, and they actually bring up competitors. What? Like, no. Think of the brand. I know it's hard because it's an abstract concept, but think of the brand as a person. Think of the brand as a person with feelings, because a brand might not be a person, but the people that work for brands are people. So the first thing in our pitch is we want to lead like a job interview. Exactly. So yeah, and Jennifer's saying, can everybody check all panelists and all attend? Oh, everybody, you're right. Make sure that you check all panelists and all attendees so everybody can see your questions, because we want to make sure we get to all these questions. And I'm almost done, and then I'm going to start getting to more of these questions. So, but we want to make sure we're all about the brand. So lead with, hi, so-and-so. Hi, light bulb company. Oh my gosh, I noticed I'm all about your light bulbs. I've been a follower for many years. I've used light bulbs in different places in my home. I especially love your new neon light bulb that you've come out with. It's made such a difference in my home and added special neon light to my house. You know, just demonstrate in some way. It doesn't have to be excessive, but with maybe 3 to 4 sentences, talk about that brand and why that is important to that brand. So Kara is on here. So Kara, I'm just curious in your opinion, if someone reached out to you to work with Hometalk and they were all about Hometalk first, wouldn't you be more likely to listen to the rest of their pitch than if they entered into the conversation just being all about themselves? Let's be about the brand first. Okay, then the second thing you want to do is you want to link to some sort of social proof that you have followers. So if you don't have a lot of followers, and this is where a lot of people get tripped up because they're like, oh, I don't have a lot of followers, and how can I reach out to this brand? I'm embarrassed of my numbers. Like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? And here's what I say. You take every single follower you have from here to kingdom come. Like, you take your Facebook followers, take all your Hometalk followers, take your LinkedIn followers, take your Instagram, Pinterest, whatever, put them all into one giant follower count and say, I have over 3,000 loyal, invested followers that love to hear about new products. And that's the way you kind of do the workaround for the actual, especially in that first email. You want to demonstrate that you have followers, but you also don't want to you want to put your best foot forward, in other words. So you don't want to say, well, I mean, I only have 47 followers on Instagram, but I'm fun and I'm great and I'll work with you. No, we just want to present an overall follower count, because that to me is the best way that you can be authentic. You're keeping it real. We never want to misrepresent with a brand ever, ever, ever. If you're just, Joshua, if you're just starting everything, okay, then I probably, you really don't want to start pitching any brands until you've blogged for about 6 months. I mean, that's just a good rule of thumb, just because then you have, when they go look at your, even Pinterest followers, yeah, add the Pinterest followers in there, even better. You're just trying to demonstrate what your social footprint looks like. And that's the way you do, is you add all of your followers together. So Joshua, I mean, you could kind of do a little bit of a workaround and just talk about them and talk about what you can do for them and not really mention your followers if you don't have a lot of them. But a good rule of thumb, you can do affiliates. There's other ways you can make money. There's a couple of webinars back. We actually had a whole webinar that I talked about on how to make money if you have a small following. But a good rule of thumb when we're pitching brands is you want to have some content under your belt, because a lot of times you only have one time to go into those followers. And if we don't have enough of a, you know, it's like they're like, oh, we've already heard about them. So we want to wait till we have enough, about 6 months of really good content before you go in and start pitching brands. That's just a good rule. Not that you couldn't do it a little bit earlier than that, but that's just a good rule of thumb. So yes, so number one, you want to research and be all about the brand and add a few sentences. Number two, you want to add some sort of social proof, and you want to put your followers in there. And by social proof, I mean, you could even, and Joshua, this is a good idea too. If you don't have a lot of followers, you could link to maybe a viral pin that you had, or you could link to a Facebook post that did really well, or you could link to a recent post that you had that has tons of comments on it. What you're trying to do is demonstrate to the brand that you have some sort of following. How would you present a following that increases in Q4? I would say an average. What I would do is I would say an average. And I would say in Q4, my average follower count is what? And go back from last year, take your follower count and say an average. Any way that you can kind of spin the numbers to just put your best foot forward. And Kara says, yes, we're always happy to help new bloggers out in our branded content, which y'all have heard me talk about that branded content. We just signed a bunch of new companies too, so make sure you're signed up for our branded content program over on Hometalk. Okay, so research, social proof. Next, you want to make sure you have a project idea, some sort of project idea that you are specifically pitching them a project. Not like, the worst thing you can say in a pitch is, I'd really like to work with you. I mean, that'd be great. I'd like to work with you. How? Like how? That's not going to get any traction. You want to make sure you have a very specific project idea. And then you want to give a hint. I always say, I have a super fun idea to share your project. Super fun idea to share your product that I would love to talk to you about. Now, I never tell them what my super fun idea is in the first email, because just between us, like, I haven't thought up yet. I'm like, why am I going to waste time thinking of a super fun idea if they say no from the first email? Like, but I have never met a super fun idea that I did not like. And I can come up with a super fun idea on the spot in minutes. So that super fun idea is just waiting. I just haven't particularly thought of it yet. So I always say I have a super fun idea, or I tease, like, I have a great idea. You could say, you know, if you don't want to use super fun, but you could say, I have a great idea that I'd love to talk to you about to promote your product on my blog. And the last thing is, you want to make sure that you have some sort of follow-up. You don't want to leave the email hanging. You say, I look forward to hearing from you. If I don't hear back, I'll circle back in a week or so. You know, you want to give some sort of resolve to the email. Now, one last tip, and this has worked really well for me, because a lot of times I'll pitch a brand and I send it out in their universe and I don't hear anything back. And email is notoriously not good. Like, emails get lost. A lot of times, if you pitch the brand and you don't hear anything back, what I do is I go find the original email and I forward it to them. And somehow that forwarding allows you to skip whatever the email, because it might have ended up in their spam email and they've never seen it. So I will go find the original email and I will forward it to them with a, hey, really excited about this, just wanted to follow up. Love to hear your thoughts, KariAnne. So I just send them the original email that's forwarded, but somehow when I forward it, it gets into their inbox, as opposed to sometimes when I send emails, it does not get into their inbox. Okay, so here are 5 things you don't need in your pitch. We talked about what you need. Here's what you don't need. Number 1, we don't want to brag. I mean, ridiculous. Now, there's a difference between confidence and bragging. We all talked about how amazing we are, and we are 100% amazing, but we want that to come through in our writing. We want to be a confident pitcher. We want to show confidence. We want to demonstrate our belief in our brand, but we don't want to brag like, I'm so great, I'm amazing. I mean, I like saying I'm amazing, but maybe in my heart, I need a few little times before I tell the brand how amazing I am. Usually, I always tell them I'm amazing after I've, like, really sold the heck out of their product or promoted it. Then I'm like, you know what? I am kind of amazing. Like, y'all, total aside, this is a total aside, little fun story. I pitched, when I was very first starting out, I pitched a Lysol wipes. I was like, it was a campaign through BlogHer, and I pitched Lysol wipes. And I wrote this elaborate story, which I don't have time to go into, but it was this amazing story. And it was focused on my son and, like, how he was turned into a T-Rex. And, like, you know, then I cut to the picture of the wipes, and I'm like, you know, here, meet my T-Rex. These are the wipes that handle the flu and everything else. Okay, I was so all about that pitch, like, so all about, I mean, not pitch, I was so all about that post I wrote for them, that I called the brand. I called them and I read the post to her over the phone because I thought it was so great. I read the post and then I said, I'm not making this up. I said, and, you know, if you want to film a commercial with it, I'm available. I give you the rights just in case, you know, this post is so great that you want to make it in your commercial. So definitely have confidence. Maybe don't call up the brand and read it to them over the phone, but yeah, definite confidence in that. So you don't want to brag. You don't want to be all about yourself. Number 3, you don't want to mention competitors. There's nothing worse. We just had a brand tell us, like, that's the thing. Hey, by the way, if you don't work with me, I'm going to go to XYZ competitor. Like, no go on that. You also don't want vague and unspecific language, like, I'd love to work with you, or you're great, like, this is amazing, or like, it would be great if we worked together. Like, very unspecific. Like, that's going to get you 0, nowhere, no how. And the last thing is, you do not want to mention your price. Don't lead with your price, because then that allows the conversation to be shut down immediately. Our goal is, when we work with these brands, is we want to hook them. So we want to give them, here's how amazing I am. Here's what I can offer you. I'm all about you. Here's all of the ideas. I have a super fun idea that I'm waiting to tell you about if you email me back. And then the more emails that start going back and forth, the more likely you are to book the campaign. So if we tell them the price initially, it closes the door. So I never tell the price in the first pitch email. Okay. A lot of times too, brands will ask for a media kit. And just between us, I don't have a media kit. One. I don't have one because I love to negotiate, and every single negotiation is very unique. And now one thing, just as a total aside, people always ask me what to pitch, what price to pitch. And I mean, this is just a very basic rule of thumb. Every negotiation is so specific because how many socials are they asking you for? How many, like, are they asking you for video? Like, everything is so specific. But a good rule of thumb is you can kind of take your blog page views that you have and add a 0 to it. Now that's a very, and it may even be on a little bit on the low side. So if you have 500 page views a month, you might want to, excuse me, I'm sorry. If you have 50,000 page views a month, then you'd want to add a 0, and like it would be 500. And if you have 100,000, you'd add a 0 and it'd be 1,000. And if you have 200,000, you'd add a 0 and it'd be 2,000. If you have 300,000 page views, you add a 0 and it'd be 3,000. So that's just a good rule of thumb. Now, I always say ask high. So if I only had 50,000, I might go in at like 750. And if they balked at that, then I would come back and I would say, oh, let me add some more social. Like sometimes you can add additional things in there, but I always try to give yourself a little bit of wiggle room, because you don't want to start low and then they go, oh, we'll take that, and you could have gotten more money, and you don't want to leave any money on the table. So, okay. Yes. So, okay. So you want to know about a media kit. Now, I don't have a media kit, but what I do have is I have an advertised page, and that's what I typically send them. If they ask specifically for a media kit, I never try to bring up the media kit. If they ask, I send them a link to my advertised page. You can see it on my blog. Just go over to my blog, and it's advertised on the top. And this is where you put all your disclosures, your privacy notice, everything that you need if you're going to be working with brands. You put all of that on that page. But here are a few other things that you need on that page. So number one, I have all my followers over there. And if you don't have a lot of followers, just follow what we already talked about. Lump them all into one. Make sure they're all together and just put your biggest number forward. So when I very first started out, I would say I have 2,000 followers. And then, oh, thanks, Kara. I have 2,000 followers. And then I would list my very highest one with 1,000 followers in Pinterest. You know, I always list my highest social media. Now I'm very proud of my numbers, so I put them on there. But when I first started out, I just lumped all the numbers into one thing. The second thing is you want to list why should they work with you? Like, what about you? What do you offer? So do you offer DIY projects? Do you have readers that are invested? Whatever reason that you can come up with that they would want to work with you, you want to make sure you put that on the page. The third thing you want to put is other brands that you've worked with. So even if you've just worked for product with brands, or you've done any collaborations, you want to take those logos or just links to those brands and put them on the page, because that demonstrates to an advertiser that you have worked with brands before, because nobody wants to be the first one. Okay, nobody wants to be the first brand. So the great thing is, if you've worked with Hometalk through our branded content program, you can take all those logos of those brands and put them over there on your page. And now you have kind of like, that's your street cred, you know, that you've worked with brands before. Articles for magazines, if you have been paid for them in any way, yes, Stacy, I would put the logo of the magazine over there 100%. Also, you want to put, this is a great tip, on that advertised page, you want to put the list of upcoming projects that you have. So if you go look at my advertised page, I have, I need new windows. I need, I'm going to be doing a bathroom collaboration. I'm updating my bathroom. We're building a garage in the back. So if you're a brand and you go look at that page, you're like, oh, well, look, she's looking for windows. A lot of times I have gotten collaborations because the brands go to my advertised page and they see what my upcoming list of projects. So I have, you'll see, I think it's projects for Q4 and the beginning of 2021 are over there, just a list of projects. So that's always good to have. And the last and most important thing is to have a way that they can contact you. You don't know how many blogs that I go to, and I'm trying to contact them for Hometalk about something, and they have no way to contact them. So you've done all this work, you've done everything that we've talked about, and you have not put a way to contact you. So make sure you have a way to contact you. Okay, so here are some of the questions that people sent in. Okay, and feel free, to put national features like today. Yes, let's go. Like, come on. The more, all you're trying to do is make yourself look as amazing as you. This is like your brag about yourself page, as opposed to like the pitch letter. Let's let our advertising page do the bragging for us. Okay, what is the timeline for pitching brands in comparison to when you actually want to start your project? That is a great idea. That completely depends upon the product. So for example, we just talked about Jeffrey Court. If you're gonna work with Jeffrey Court, that is a tile brand. A tile project is very involved. You wanna give yourself some good leeway, because then there is nothing worse than being on a tight deadline and making the brand feel pressured. You're probably gonna get way more of a no. So I would make sure that you give yourself at least a month's grace to pitch whatever that. So let's say you know that you're working on that tile project, and let's say you're working on let's say you're going to start the tile project at the beginning of, let's say November. Let's say you start at the beginning of November. I would allow yourself a month, maybe 6 weeks, especially with tile, to start pitching them, so that you know that you can contact them, get the yes, and get the product in time to start the, and another thing too, when you're working with brands, and this happens to me all the time, you'll start on a project, and sometimes inevitably things happen, like a hurricane comes your way, which I'm sending extra thoughts and prayers out to anyone who is in, if you are in a hurricane in Louisiana, you know, oh my goodness, you know, our hearts are with you. So, lost my train of thought there. Oh, so you want to make sure that with those brands that 100% you have everything squared away. You don't want to pitch them and then make them feel pressured. So I would make sure that that's a really good timeline for when you want to start pitching. Also, how do I transition from getting product to getting paid? Oh, that is a great question. I think somebody else asked this. So I think that, first of all, there's no shame in the game of product. I think that people, there's this whole philosophy out there, like, I am not going to work for product. I tell you, girl, like, there is no way I am not working for product. Okay. If the product is something that you need, that you are going to pay money for, especially an expensive product like flooring or a tub or a sink or something like that, you want 100% to make sure that there's no shame in that game of getting like a tub for a post. You know, I mean, I've done that before. So if it's a spray paint can, or if it's a pumpkin, we want, you know, I think it's fine initially to do one product. When I very first started out and I was working with brands, I would give each brand one product post. And then after that product post, I would demonstrate. In that product post, I would, oh my goodness, I would link the heck out of it. I would go and put it on linky parties. And when it got picked up on the linky parties, I would send back those links to the brand. So let's say, for example, I was promoting these pumpkins. Okay, I would do this some incredible, amazing tablescape with these pumpkins. And then I would do so many pins. I would put on Facebook, I would put on Instagram, I would promote it, because I'm not looking at it like I just got paid a pumpkin. I'm looking at it like, this is my introduction to the brand. So I would work extra hard. And like I said, a really good tip is I would take the pumpkin post and I would go over there and I would put it on all those linky parties. And when it got picked up a lot of times as a feature on the linky party, then I would send that back to the brand. And I would say, oh my gosh, look, not only were you featured on my blog, but you were featured on these other blogs. And I would just try to do as good of a job as I could for that brand. And then when I went back to them, I would say, you know, because it worked so well and because my readers responded so well to it, I really love to work on another collaboration for you. And then I would ask for payment at that point. Also, too, something else I didn't bring up earlier, but I think this is very important, and this is how we get rebooked, especially when you're dealing with trying to move from a pumpkin to getting paid, pumpkin to payment. You want to always ask the brand what their metric is, because every brand is different. Some brands are looking for page views. And so somebody asked, will brands still work with smaller bloggers? I think that was a question a while ago. And yes, they will 100%. They will work with smaller bloggers, because sometimes what is the most important thing, and this is something you heard, if you were in my private group, you heard Amanda say this, what the metric for Jeffrey Court is, they want these beautiful, incredible projects. Well, sometimes the bloggers doing beautiful, incredible projects don't have a lot of following, but what's more important to Jeffrey Court are those high-res images. So sometimes, I don't want to speak for Jeffrey Court, but sometimes a brand's metric is high-res images. Well, then followers are not that important. Sometimes the metric for a brand is video assets. And if you're great at video, but you don't have a lot of followers, and they can take that video and put it on all their social channels, That is a great metric that you can deliver to them without a lot of followers. Another metric sometimes brands are looking for is way to get people to sign up for their newsletter. So if you can get a lot of people, if you have those, remember those 1,000 loyal followers that we talked about? If you can get those 1,000 loyal followers to go and follow them and follow their email, then you've already delivered without a lot of followers. So it's very important to find out, because how will you know if the campaign is a success if you don't know what the metric is? The metric is everything, because let's say that you think they're all about page views and you work so hard to drive all these page views, but your pictures are not that good, and their metric is they want the high-res images, like you lost an opportunity right there with that brand. So when you start your negotiation and you've booked the campaign, you want to ask the brand what their metric, how would they consider or another way of saying it is, what would they consider to be a success with this campaign? What deliverables would make this success in this campaign? Should a link to your sponsored post? I don't have that. I have been known to send them a link before when you, sometimes when you're working with the brand, like you're pitching the brand and you need an example, I have been known to do that before. So, so that is something, yeah, for sure. But on my advertised page, I don't really have that. Only tag one brand at a time. Yes, Melanie is exactly right. She's saying only tag one brand at a time, because again, remember our brands, they have feelings and they get a little jealous. And if you're tagging like at Wayfair, at Joss & Main, at Home Depot, at so-and-so, at so-and-so, at so-and-so, and then all of a sudden, like that brand's like, look, I'm one of like 5 or 6 brands. Like, it's like they want to be, each brand wants to feel like they are the very most important brand to you. Okay, when is the right time to submit my rate card to a brand? Okay, I think we kind of talked through that. I think the final, like I submit it whenever, so let's go back to our original pitch. So we send out that pitch letter. We say we have a super fun idea. They send us back an email and they say, we are very, very interested in you. We want to hear your super fun idea. You pitch the entire idea. Like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, and come up with some creative way, not just, I'm going to do a blog post and put social out. No, we don't want that. Don't y'all like all these little voices? My webinar voices. But you don't want to, that's boring. A blog post and social, please, like, try to throw in an Instagram takeover or a special contest on Instagram or a giveaway, or there's a million things, creative ideas that you can do to promote their brand. It's not super fun if it's just a blog post and social. Okay. So we want to send them back. And at this point, they'll be like hooked because they'll see your idea. They're all about you. Then they send you back an email and they say to you the magic words, how much do you charge for a sponsored post? And what do you say? I'm just curious, like what would y'all say in that situation? I'm just very curious. Anybody have any suggestions on what you would say? I hate the delay. It's always like, I'm like, you'd say $200. You have no idea. What are you looking for? Oh, Donna gets the gold star, because here's what you do. It is a well-known rule of thumb in negotiation. This is where you freeze up. Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. We're not freezing. First of all, if you have any questions, y'all just message me. If you get to that point, Jessica, and you're freezing, you go, hello, KariAnne, what do I do? So it's a well-known axiom in negotiation that whoever speaks first loses. So you want to try with every fiber of your being to not be the first person to say the negotiation. Now, sometimes you can't help it. Sometimes it's just, it is what it is. You have to do it, but you try not to. So they say to you, what do you do? What do you charge for a sponsored campaign? And you email them back and you go, oh, well, my rates vary depending on the campaign and how much social's involved and what you were specifically looking for as far as promotion goes. And then this is when you say, do you have a budget? So you try to get them to go first. You say, do you have a budget for this campaign? So you wait and see, do you have a budget for the campaign? And sometimes you'll be shocked. They'll go, yeah, actually we have a budget. And sometimes their budget's way more than it's way more than that $200. Okay. Yeah, you'd ask me exactly. So you So sometimes you're like, oh, they'll email you back and they're like, so the $200 person, they'll say, well, we have a budget of $750 plus free product. And you're like, oh, I was going to offer 200. You're like, that's why the person that goes first loses usually. If they come back and say, and sometimes they'll say, here's our budget. And sometimes they'll say, well, you know, our budgets are negotiable, because they're trying to get you to go first. So they'll say, well, our budgets are negotiable. What do you say? And then this is when you say, well, my sponsored post rates start at, okay? Start at whatever your number is that you fill in. And that's really, you know, I don't really have a rate card. I don't know who asked this question, but I don't really have a rate card. My rates are negotiable a lot of times. I mean, I have a standard rate. But if they're willing to do more posts, the price goes down. If they're asking for social, the price goes up. If they're asking for video, the price goes up. So that's why I don't want to send a rate card, because everything is not cut and dried, if that makes sense. So then when you go, my rates start at 500, my rates start at 750, my rates start at, because then that gives you a base of negotiation to build up from. Okay, number 4, okay, we already talked about this. How do we find the contact person to pitch to? Hunter.io, networking, Instagram, and Facebook. And the last question that somebody asked said, if most of my readers are American, but my blog is Canadian, should I pitch Canadian companies or can I pitch to US companies? I think it's fine. I know several Canadian bloggers personally who pitch to US companies, because the most important thing is where your readers from, because just because you're located in a physical location, as long as they can get the product to you, like if you can order it online and there's no problem with shipping, and you can and you have readers that are in the US, I see no problem in pitching. I actually was talking to a lady from New Zealand, and she has a very specific amount of readers, and they are actually from the US. So we were talking about how can we work around the fact that you're in a different country and pitch to US readers and US companies. So that being said, if you are in Canada, I do know that there are several amazing Canadian brands. So, you know, you actually you have double the people to pitch to, because you have Canadian brands, but also I would be pitching to US brands as well. So, and Melanie asked, how do you ask for ongoing? Wait until after. Okay, so this is my favorite thing. So I always ask for the sale. Like I finish, and then I deliver them this amazing thing, because remember, we've asked them for the metric. So we already know how to judge if the campaign is successful or not. So I'll give you a great example. I was working with a brand. It was a real estate company, online real estate company. And they asked me, and I was going through the thing, and I said, what is your metric? And they said, our metric is, we want you to send us 2,000 page views to our site. That was their metric. So I came up with this super clever, the cleverest idea, which we don't have time to go into detail, but it was, suffice it to say, it was extraordinarily clever, and it was designed to send traffic to their site. So I went ahead and wrote the post and sent it out to them, and sent it out to the world, put it on my email and sent it out. And about 4 hours later, I get a message from her, and she says, KariAnne, all caps, you are not going to believe this. You are not going to believe this, all caps. We have had over 6,500 clicks to our site in 4 hours. And I was like, bam, mic drop. Like, who's amazing? Oh, me. But of course, I say, oh, that's so exciting. Well, it's obvious. And then that's Melanie, where I go back in right there. Like, it's proven success. We have delivered. She asked for 2,000 and I delivered 6,500. And I actually ended up at the end of the campaign delivering over 13,000 click-throughs to her site. So she was super happy. But when you have proved your metric is when you go back in and ask for more. And I don't just sometimes ask for one more post. Sometimes I'll ask for a series of posts at that point, because you have proven. So your goal with that first post, it's like we lose sight of that brands are our customers. Now our readers, your number one customer is your reader. But that brand is a customer too. And you want to make sure that you are delivering above and beyond. So promise this and deliver this, and you will rebook every single time. So, okay, so our time is short. I've talked so much, and I had so many more stories to go. But let me see if I can just take a couple more questions if you guys want to hang with me just for a smidge. And then I'll let y'all go because it's already afternoon. So is that something they will determine, or do you ever follow up and let them know? Oh, I always let them know how it did, 100%. I'm always, because if it did well, I'm like, let me lead with that. So I am always, and also too, I follow all these brands on Instagram. So if I see they have a big win, or if I see that they came up, like sometimes if I've worked with them in the past and I see that, oh, they have a new product coming out, or let's say I see one of their, this has happened a lot, where I'll see one of their competitors is doing something that is a good idea. I'll be like, hey, so-and-so, are you aware? Did you see what your competitors are doing for marketing? Isn't this a clever idea? We should do a spin on this. And I'm the person to do it. Like I could totally come up, do my own spin on this, and this would be amazing. They love that. So I'm always looking for ways to reach back out. I mean, I'm a walking pitch machine, but I mean, I love it. So should you wait to hear from one company before pitching to the competing brand? I kind of, the challenge with brands is, again, they get a little bit jealous. And so I would I would go all in on one. And if they said no, now you have to give yourself enough of your timeline, because depending on what it is, you could be waiting for a while to hear back. So you want to make sure you give yourself enough of a timeline. But I wouldn't pitch to, especially Home Depot and Lowe's, or especially any of the paint brands. The paint brands are very, very competitive. So you don't want to go and throw the project idea out and then try to play one competitor. Oh, no. And also that's a very important point, Michelle. You have to decide, if you're going to go with Lowe's, you kind of have to be all in on Lowe's. If you're going to go with Home Depot, you kind of have to be all in on Home Depot. Like, your readers are going to get confused if you switch back between brands like that, or if you switch back between paint brands. It's better to just pick a brand that you like and stay with that brand and stick with that brand. So, all right. Well, y'all, this was so much fun. Now, I think that you all are amazing. And before I go, will you just make my day? Will you just, I would love to hear you say one more time how amazing you are. I want to hear, we want to leave on a high note. We want to leave that we're amazing. We are amazing. I want to hear it. Come on, let's go. We are amazing. I'm amazing. Yes, you are, Lauren. Yes, you are, Stacy. Yes, you are, Emily. Yes, you are, Jennifer. Yes, you are, Paula. Yes, Jessica. Yes. We are amazing, and we are going to go out. And remember, when you leave this, remember at the very beginning, we are all about action, not just motion, but action. That's what we want. And if you learned one thing and you take one thing away, I want you to go today and I want you to put that into action to take you one step closer to achieving the dreams for your brands. On behalf of Hometalk and myself, you guys rock. And this has been my absolute positive joy today. Thanks, y'all.